7 Things You Must Quit to Go From Broke to Millionaire, inspired by Jim Rohn. The journey from broke to millionaire is not simply about making money. It is about becoming the kind of person who attracts money, opportunity, and abundance. And Jim Rohn often said that if you want to have more, you must become more. Because success is not pursued. It is attracted by the person you become. And to become that kind of person, you don't just need to adopt new habits. You must also quit the old ones that hold you back. For your future wealth is not only determined by what you start doing, but also by what you stop doing. Because poverty has habits just as wealth does. And if you continue with the habits of the broke, you will continue with the results of the broke. But if you quit these destructive patterns and replace them with new disciplines, you can make the transformation from scarcity to abundance, from survival to prosperity, from broke to millionaire. The first thing you must quit is making excuses, because excuses are the language of failure and the comfort zone of mediocrity. When you tell yourself that you can't succeed because of your background, your lack of education, your lack of connections, or the economy, you create a prison of limitation in your own mind. But when you quit making excuses and take full responsibility for your life, you unlock the door to freedom. Because responsibility is the first step toward wealth. And millionaires are not those who had no obstacles, but those who chose not to let obstacles become their story. Jim Rohn would say, "If you don't like where you are, move. You're not a tree," reminding us that change begins with responsibility and excuses must be eliminated if we want to rise. The second thing you must quit is wasting time, because time is the currency of life and the equal gift given to everyone, rich or poor. And the difference between broke and millionaire is not how many hours are in the day, but how those hours are invested. When you waste your mornings sleeping in, your afternoons scrolling aimlessly, and your evenings distracted by entertainment, you trade the chance to build wealth for fleeting pleasure. But when you quit wasting time and instead invest it in learning, planning, creating, and working, you create momentum that compounds into wealth. And Jim Rohn often reminded us that the few who do are the envy of the many who only watch, meaning that those who choose discipline over distraction become the ones others look up to later. The third thing you must quit is negative associations, because your income and your outlook are heavily influenced by the people you spend time with. And Jim Rohn's timeless principle was that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If your circle complains, blames, and remains broke, you will too, because environment is stronger than willpower. But if you quit negative associations and begin surrounding yourself with ambitious, disciplined, and forward-thinking people, your standards will rise, your habits will improve, and opportunities will multiply, because success leaves clues, and it is contagious when you are in the right company. The fourth thing you must quit is living beyond your means, because many remain broke not from lack of income, but from lack of financial discipline, spending every dollar on things that depreciate instead of things that appreciate, buying luxuries to look rich instead of investments to become rich. To go from broke to millionaire, you must quit the cycle of consumer debt. Quit the habit of buying what you cannot afford to impress people who do not care, and instead adopt the discipline of saving, investing, and multiplying money. Jim Rohn would remind us that poor people have big TVs, rich people have big libraries. Meaning wealth begins not with how much you make, but how much you keep and how wisely you use it. And when you quit overspending, you give yourself the foundation to build wealth brick by brick. The fifth thing you must quit is seeking instant gratification, because wealth is never built overnight. It is built over time. And those who are broke often demand quick results, quick pleasures, quick wins. While those who become millionaires understand the principle of seasons. You plant in spring, you work in summer, you harvest in autumn, and you endure in winter. Jim Rohn often said that success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day, and failure is just a few errors in judgment repeated every day. And if you quit chasing shortcuts and instead commit to long-term effort, patience, and compounding discipline, you will inevitably rise. Instant gratification is the thief of future prosperity, but delayed gratification is the builder of empires. The sixth thing you must quit is fear of failure, because fear paralyzes potential and keeps you stuck in the comfort zone of mediocrity. And millionaires are not people who never failed. They are people who refuse to let failure define them. Every successful person has a trail of mistakes behind them, but what separates them from the broke is that they learned, adjusted, and tried again. When you quit letting fear control you, you realize that failure is not the opposite of success, but part of it, a stepping stone rather than a roadblock. And Jim Rohn always taught that if you want to increase your chances of success, you must increase your willingness to fail. Because failure is simply feedback, and the quicker you learn, the quicker you grow. So quit waiting for certainty and start acting with courage, because wealth rewards the bold, not the hesitant. The seventh and final thing you must quit is neglecting personal growth. Because wealth is not pursued, it is attracted by the person you become. And you cannot become a millionaire with a broke mindset, lazy habits, or limited skills. Jim Rohn emphasized that formal education makes you a living, but self-education makes you a fortune. And if you quit neglecting personal growth and instead invest in reading, learning, attending seminars, improving communication, mastering financial literacy, and developing leadership, you will expand your capacity to create and manage wealth. The broke stay broke because they wait for circumstances to change, but the future millionaire grows themselves until opportunities cannot help but find them. When you combine these 7 decisions, quitting excuses, quitting wasted time, quitting negative associations, quitting living beyond your means, quitting instant gratification, quitting fear of failure, and quitting neglecting personal growth, you transform your life at the root because you no longer carry the habits that keep you broke, and instead you create the conditions in which wealth naturally flows toward you. Wealth is not luck. It is not chance. It is not magic. It is the predictable result of character, discipline, and philosophy. And when you quit what holds you back, you make space for what will propel you forward. Jim Rohn often said, "Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better." And quitting these destructive habits is how you become better so you can attract better, do better, and live better. Remember, the difference between broke and millionaire is not the lottery ticket, not the lucky break, not the sudden opportunity. It is the daily decisions, the philosophies embraced, and the habits practiced. And if you are willing to quit the habits of the broke and embrace the disciplines of the wealthy, there is no limit to how far you can go. So make today the day you quit what holds you back and begin becoming the person worthy of wealth. Because when you change, everything changes. And that is how you go from broke to millionaire.